What's going on, everybody? We are back for What's Up Wednesday on the Tactical Leader podcast, and we are with yours truly, Zack Knight, and my co-star with the most star, Monstar, Taylor Merritt, Daddy Tay,
There you go, baby.
here with Daddy Tay to talk a little bit about What's Up Wednesday and the feedback we've been getting from you, the listener, and the audience members. We want to hear from you. So if you want to be featured, if your topic wants to be featured, if you want to shoot, even come on the podcast. I know in the future we're looking for guests to chop up some of these topics. We'd love to feature you on the podcast or just your topic and your questions. So make sure you reach out to us, Daddy Tay Fit on Instagram for Taylor, Zack A Knight across all platforms for me. Just reach out, let us know, DM us, figure out how we can best serve you. But today we're going to dive into a very interesting topic about how we break away. Somebody asked, how do we actually break away? How do we disconnect? How do we set aside the time for ourselves and truly, quote unquote, check out? Which is a massively difficult thing for me to do. Most of the time, it's pretty difficult for you to do. I think you're much better at it than I am,
Depends on where we are, yes.
depending on where we are. But for me, it's something that has been massive difficult. So I want to break apart this topic in our own ways of doing it and give some like actionable tactical capabilities for the person listening that may not be able to break away for their own, as I like to call it, mindset reset, right? It's a trip I like to take every quarter, a mindset reset. You've been on a couple of them with me. I've done many of them alone or with the queen before she left us. Sad.
Oh, wow,
I know
baby.
that went really dark
That
really quick.
fudged me up.
I know. I used to love going on trips with her,
Sadie Mae.
but having that capability to go somewhere to reset your mind. Um, a big piece of what we've done is obviously trips together. Unfortunately, most of those have been business trips here lately. Fortunately and unfortunately, you've been able
Yeah,
to travel a lot.
I love it.
You've traveled so much more than I think you've ever have in your life
Yeah.
outside of softball
hmm
because of my business travels, and I've been able to include you in a lot of amazing trips. But that doesn't always leave us time for ourselves, even though we try to be intentional about that. I think DC was probably one of the best trips we've had that was business related but integrated life. If we got an extra couple days, but I want to hear from your perspective. You're laughing. What's laughable about the Waldorf?
I just thought about that night we ordered a lot of room service and you were like screaming at me in the best way, y'all. Like hilarious.
Order me pizza.
Oh my God. I was like,
A whole pizza.
you would snore and then you'd wake up and be like, pizza. And then I ordered it and it was like a charcuterie board, pizza, something else. And it was like
We fell asleep with pizza between us.
literally, and there was crumbs everywhere in the
That's
bed.
not nearly as bad as the time. I love this. What was it that we fell asleep during my summit?
Cookies.
It wasn't cookies.
Oh, it was Ritz cheese crackers.
Rich
We didn't have
cheese
anything to eat.
crackers. We had not eaten all day.
Oh.
I opened a pack on my chest. I rolled
Oh.
towards you. They fall perfectly. And for some reason, you move them. And I wake up in the middle of the night. I wake up in the middle of the night and I roll over on something crunchy. I'm like, that's weird. And I swipe and I feel that it's a cracker.
And you eat it.
And I ate it.
Yeah.
And then the next morning,
You're guilty of that.
oh, I'm so guilty of that. It was so funny. The next morning, when you're out of the bed and I'm like getting out of the bed and I
Yeah.
look and there's like 24 crackers.
They're everywhere.
You look like there was an outline of a dead person. You know how they tape a dead person?
Yeah.
It was like that, but in Jesus.
Oh my God. Yeah, they were I think you got up and ate them.
I wanted to eat them. I'm not gonna lie. It
Yeah.
was so bad. Anyways. Talking about being intentional and breaking away, having our mindset resets. We just did one this past weekend. I think we did phenomenal with it. It didn't necessarily achieve the desired result as we rolled back into Atlanta
Oof. Yikes.
and real life hit us.
Yep.
But talk to us a little bit about, from your perspective, what's it look like to break away, check out, and really take a mindset reset?
Ooh, okay. So before what it looks like, I think the communication of, and I'm guilty of this because I find myself getting frustrated. I feel, and no offense, that I'm better at this than you. However, like I mentioned earlier, certain environments. So like when we're out of town, I'm like, peace. It's vacation. I can still do business, but like I'm not in a crazy restaurant. I'm not, it's like, oh my God, it's shiny objects everywhere. So much fun. Doesn't matter if we're at a brewery in Asheville or I'm laying in like the most comfortable bed at the Waldorf. Like it doesn't matter. I'm like, it's a new world in a way. That's
It's a
fun.
whole new
Yeah.
world.
Anyways,
All right. Sorry.
so communicating what you need to your partner and what they need back, asking what they need back, because um I'll use two examples here. You mentioned we've been traveling a lot for, you said fortunately and unfortunately. Love, I think it's all fortunate because I find so many opportunities, and I mean that in like the most positive way, of the business side. So whether you're with a client for 12 hours and a hot day doing whatever, or
Shooting guns.
there you go. I was like,
You
okay.
can say it.
Or sitting in on Zoom calls or podcasts or whatever that may look like, and
Yeah.
we're out of town, and maybe that means I need to go out of the Airbnb or hotel room, whatever we're staying in, and just go like shop or do whatever or catch up on emails. Business trip wise, we can still find that area of time. And then when it's checkout time, like this past weekend, which we've been asked about, Mexico Beach, Florida, by the way, definitely not a different country, guys.
Mexico Beach is definitely in Florida.
Yeah, it's definitely in Florida, guys. If you didn't know, now you know. It's on the Gulf. The Gulf.
The golf.
The Gulf. The Gulf. Um, I think this one was easier for me. Maybe it was because it's my birthday, and I was like,
Yes.
I'm gonna be super selfish right now.
Yes.
I was like, this is
You're really good at being super selfish. All
big
weekend.
3-0, and
I love you
nobody's
for it.
gonna take that from me.
Yeah.
It's already an ew, but
I guess.
yeah, ew,
We
dirty.
won't dissect that piece of it because I don't think that's the intentionality of the conversation I want to have. I think there's a piece of, and this is where I'm bad. We broke away for your birthday for the weekend. The intentionality for me was not to check out of business. The intentionality for me was to check in to your birthday celebration. And that's a really weird dichotomy for
Very
me,
interesting.
right? I wanted to make sure during the hours of possibility, we were on the beach getting a sunburn, mission accomplished. We're eating really good food, mission accomplished. And you felt prioritized. I feel like mission accomplished. There weren't very many times where you were fighting with me to put my phone down or I was working, right?
Well, yeah, you did good.
Even when I told you, hey, I got work to do, and I ended up doing zero work that day.
That was an internet issue.
We'll go with that.
What?
About Sunday, we went to go get pizza instead, and we drove into town and shopped and whatnot. So not a big deal, but it turned into, I have a difficulty of checking out of business if my intentionality is not checking out for business. My intentionality is checking out of life to check into celebrating you. I can do that. It doesn't necessarily mean checking out of business.
So do you check out of business for your
Conversely,
own trips?
right. So that's the conversely piece.
Huh.
When we went up to the mountains in Jasper and I had to finish my book for the weekend,
Uh-huh.
I had a sole intentionality. Nothing is going to distract me. I'm writing this book this
But
weekend.
it was my birthday, you know that, right?
I understand.
Yeah.
and we had a great
It
weekend.
was awesome.
There were a lot of things that happened that weekend
I had no service.
for the first time.
You're an idiot. I can't stand you.
I don't know if you remember that one.
Babe, shut your face.
I'm just
I'm
saying,
about to
we
throw this
have to
wine on your
enjoy
bald
the
head.
intimacy attached.
Oh my God.
That was a good trip.
I love you so much. You sound like a 16-year-old virgin right now.
Not after that trip, I wasn't.
Okay, ladies and
You
gentlemen.
set me up for that. Anyways, there were a lot of things that happened around. You were able to truly check out. I think it was honestly the way you described it. It was the first time you'd ever truly checked out
Yeah.
because you didn't have a choice. You freaked out about it at 1st, and then you embraced it. For me, I checked out and I'm like, oh God, I love this because I've been doing these mindset reset trips. And every time I do a mindset reset trip, I take one intentionality into the weekend. What do I want to accomplish this weekend? If it is not to pick up a device, cool. I'm camping in the back of my truck.
I think that that's where my mind goes. Really. Like I was forced when we went to,
Jasper
yeah, I was forced because, and it was
literally
awesome,
didn't have a signal
like forced. And I was like, this is the greatest feeling ever. I wish this happened more.
after like 3 hours. Initially, you had mass anxiety attached to not being able to answer your phone.
I also wasn't fully out of everything yet.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't quit.
You know what? You're right. You're still 9 to 5.
Yeah.
That was like right
Technically.
at the beginning of your business.
Literally, like
Yeah.
just got the paperwork
Yeah.
days before.
So you're still stressed about the 9 to
I
5.
was like,
Yikes.
but I was like, oh well, I'm forced finally. And I was like, this is awesome. This is awesome. There's nature.
Once you embraced it,
It was like checking into your five senses. I'm like, wow, I've never felt that before. It really felt like that.
yeah.
It's so weird to say out loud, but it's like, holy shit, I can hear like birds chirping and like the wind and feel it on my skin and it smells good.
I remember sitting on the porch, typing my book and like hammering away. And there was such a creative flow happening for me. And I don't see myself normally as a creative. Years ago, 3 years ago, you asked me if I was a creative, I would have told you no. Ask me now, and I tell you absolutely I'm a creative. Because the flow state I was able to get into that weekend to work on my book, there was something about it. And it truly is, I think, the intentionality and the what you put out into what you want to receive. And I don't mean to get super woo woo, but I actually get really woo woo about this piece of it, right? When I go to your birthday weekend, it's not about checking out, it's about catering to you. And I feel like I did a really good job of catering to you, right? It's all about your birthday, your special day. No qualms. Like it just is what it is. When we went to Jasper to write my book, we still connected on a great level in a lot of ways. But there was such a creative flow attached to my book and accomplishing that because I went there with the intentionality. And I think that's the baseline of what I want to get across of how do we break away. Right now, my intentionality this past weekend wasn't break away from work. I still checked my emails, I still replied to certain things, but I made sure I catered to you. There was my intentionality to break away. Make sure you had a great birthday weekend. Right. I think that's something, and I would love your perspective. When I go into how do you break away and how do you get out of the 9 to 5 grind, quote unquote, 9 to 5 grind, because we're not 9 to 5ers, but how do you get out of the daily grind? To me, it's setting the intentionality going into something. So when we go to Tampa for a week and we have 2 days before, 2 days after, but I'm busy for 8 straight days, 2 days before, 2 days after, we're like exploring the city, going to Ybor, going to the dueling piano bar down
Oh,
there.
so fun.
We had such a blast.
It was so much fun.
That was intentionality for those 2 days.
Yeah.
After those 2 days, hey, it's business. And sorry, we're like bed at
But
8 or
that's
9.
fun though for us. We love that. I'm like on the range with you, and
Oh yeah,
I'm like, yeah, let's set this up.
you're like shooting machine guns like a
I
crazy
know.
person.
I don't know. I think it's also a level of not only intentionality but understanding. So Jasper is a great example. It looked a little different for me this year. Jasper was so great because I was not in a state of my life where I understood that yet.
Mm,
It was almost like I hadn't set that boundary we talked about
hmm
whenever we talked about it fully. And this was because there was a lot of transitioning going on, and I was
hmm
figuring out some things,
A
and
lot
me
of
and
stress.
yeah, there was stress from all parts. And I was forced, it was like something sent to me, forced to cut a device off. I'm like, oh, this is what it takes, that I need to just cut the device off, which is kind of what I did this weekend. It was like, oh, I remember that really good feeling. The only time I really responded to anybody, I didn't respond to any text, any emails, anything, which I mean, I set that tone going in. I'm like, it's my
Yeah.
birthday. Like, and everybody knew.
But that's you set that tone, aka intentionality.
Yes,
Don't
yes.
bother me.
It's not even, yes, yes. Bother sounds,
But
but
it's
yes.
true. But you created the boundary.
Yeah. People are like,
That's what
hey, separate yourself. That's
that's what I want
awesome.
to highlight. And if we can highlight our putting ourselves first, being selfish, it is not a bad thing. Were you a selfish dick over the weekend? Absolutely. But it wasn't a bad thing. It's your 30th birthday. Enjoy it.
It's the only time I'm ever going to turn 30.
And you might get traded in. I get it. It's a
Probably not.
monumental thing for you.
Probably not. I'm not going to be a bridezilla, that's for sure. Ugh.
You're so going to be a
I
bridezilla
definitely don't want any of that
whenever you
stuff.
propose to
I
me.
mean, like, shout out to all the amazing brides out there.
Anyways, you set the intentionality of I'm going to celebrate me. And we all struggle with that of like, I'm going to celebrate me.
Yeah.
So the fact that you did it, like, bravo.
But that's also something I struggle with in business. So,
Oh, massively.
yeah.
But it's a learning lesson of you did it in your personal life.
Yep.
You've also struggled doing that in your personal life in the past.
Yes.
So think about the progress you're making that you were able to set an entire like 5 days aside to celebrate yourself.
Uh-huh.
Like there's such a level of appreciation I have for the fact that you've grown to that point.
Thank you.
That was we used to argue about that shit.
Yeah.
And
This
we
was
used to
like,
argue about being selfish about yourself for yourself.
yeah.
We had many discussions attached to, no, that's just not how I am. It's not what I'm going to do, and da 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 and da da da. And I have to think about this and that. And then this weekend, you're like, nope, f that. It's me. I'm
Yeah.
awesome. I'm so like, I haven't thought about it in this term. I'm so proud of you for that.
Thanks, baby.
That's like really huge. And I'm really proud of you for like being able to do that, even if you were a dick to me sometimes.
I love how you snuck that in there.
I love how you didn't deny it.
All
But it
right.
was one of those, I'm really proud of you for like truly having that capability to take that time for yourself because I've done it and I've done it with those mindset reset weekends that I started including you in. You have to do it. You have to be intentional about being selfish to refill your coffer so you come back stronger.
You're what?
Your coffer. That's what it's called. I know you were never in church as a child.
Oh, yikes, yikes, yikes. Yes, I was.
The coffer, the thing
I
they
thought
pass.
you, I really had an expectation that you were going to say coffee. So my mind was like,
Why would
what?
I refill my coffee?
I don't know, baby.
You have to refill your coffer before you can feed into others, right? Refill your pot, your coffee pot,
There you go.
before you fill another cup. However you want to frame it or phrase
So
it
one
or
word,
misunderstand it.
it's like always our one worder intentionality.
But
It's,
it's so overused, and I got called out on that the other day. And they were
oh,
like, "Oh, intentionality is so overused. How do you define it?" And then I hit them with exactly what we're talking about. I'm like, bam, 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 examples. Here are the tactics of intentionality. And like, oh, that makes sense. Well, yeah, because if you break down what it actually means and what it's supposed to mean for you, excuse me.
it also allows you to be spontaneous. People think that intentionality is just planning. Like when you actually kind of sit back and you're like, intentionality, like they had a plan. Yeah, we had a plan to make sure nothing distracted us so we could be spontaneous. And so that our,
Just like date night.
yes,
Oh, that's so hot.
it's so true.
It's so true. where we talked about it on Monday. It's quote unquote cold to time block for that. No, it's not.
No, I love that shit.
It allows us to go to a Braves game and get a jersey made.
I know, baby. I love that so much.
That's so hot. You cried.
I know. I did.
All right. We're hitting our time.
Let's hit it.
Be intentional about being selfish and taking time for yourself. Selfish is not a bad word.
Intentionality creates spontaneity.
Intentionality creates spontaneity. Oof.
I'm on it.
Look at you go. That was good.
Trademark by Daddy J.
And then you lost it.
Okay. Close us out, babe.
Daddy Tay Fit on Instagram. Reach out if you want to have your question, your thought, your feedback featured, or if you want to be featured, Daddy Tay Fit on Instagram for Tay, or Zack Knight across everything. Not Zack Knight. That is a indie pop star. Zack.
Oh my God, you say that every time.
I do. I have to be specific. Zack Knight. And you can find me, DM me, reach out to me, let us know how we can feature you, what your question is, what your feedback is, and how we can kind of dive into a topic you may be interested in. Let us know, and then come back this Friday, Tactical Friday. We're going to dive into some questions for you to take into the weekend with your spouse or significant other or better three quarters. Catch y'all Friday.